Om Shanti. Good evening, everyone, and good morning for those joining from India. And welcome to Wednesday Wellness with Brahma Kumaris. I know we haven't met for last 2 weeks. Um, there was something not well with this body, and we will continue with our series of uh, what is life. Just understanding there's so much to learn about life, right? Doesn't stop, doesn't end. And today I was thinking that there's a saying that when life throws lemons at you, what should we do? We should make a lemonade and enjoy. So, is it truly that life throws lemons at us, or what actually happens? Because these lemons that are thrown are probably situations, or it is someone else's sanskar, or their habits, or their behavior, or maybe my own expectations which is not fulfilled, and we get trapped in what do I do now? How do I conquer this? Or how do I face this? So today we will talk about power to face. In Hindi, it is called Samna Karne Ki Shakti. Samna. So what does it mean, power to face? One might think that to face means I actually have to fight it, or to face meaning I have to take some revenge, or do a tit for tat, or this one did this and let me give it back. Or, in sometimes you say, how do I face the enemy? Dushman ka samna kaise kare? Hmm? So, how do I face the enemy? So, when we hear the word face, or actually samna in Hindi, it's more talking about the combat. How do I, uh, you know, conquer? How do I face? How do I fight it? But actually, it's a spiritual power, s- power to face. And the underlying virtue needed for this power definitely is courage, definitely is fearlessness. But one more very important virtue or a practice is self worth or self dignity. Now, let's understand this better. There are different um, things that we need to face, right? So, let's look at each scenario probably. So, first is sometimes I need to face uh, an unexpected situation, right? An unexpected situation happens, and now I have to face it. It's right there in front of me, and I have to pass through it. I have to live through it. I have to face it. The second could be an unexpected so unexpected situation could be like on a personal level, where I am actually um, seeing a death of a near one, close one, no? An unexpected death. Um, I have to face it now. I have to live through it. I have to go through this process of grief probably, or grieving, ना जो हम हिंदी में कहते हैं कि शोक मना रहे हैं. So many times we talk about grief or grieving as this thing where, let your emotions flow, let it just, you know, just cry it out, let it flow, and all of that. But I need to use power to face in situations like this. Now, what do I need? I need courage. I need to use all the knowledge that I have accumulated over the years or over a certain time and start applying that knowledge. Now is the time where I start applying it. And I need to face this situation, um, th- this, losing a loved one, um, and pass through this this stage of grieving. The second scenario could be situation on a worldly scale, on a bigger scale, which could be, what's happening right now in the US. We have the elections coming up. We have, the on one side there is the fires and the earthquake in California, right? We have all these natural calamities and disasters. We have the political scenario. We have the war, um, which is going on, and so much is um, growing in that area. So all of this external, right, bigger worldly situations and scenarios. And now, how do we face those? How do I face those? What is needed? What is needed is fearlessness. I need to be fearless. How will I become fearless? What is needed for me to become fearless? And what I need to understand from this is the whole, and we've talked about this in our previous sessions, to understand that it's a drama. Everything that's happening is the drama of life, and drama as in a scene, right, happening. Now, if I'm a spectator of this drama, is it in my hands to change any of the script of this drama? Ask yourself this question: do I have the power to change the script of this worldly drama, these scenarios, the natural calamities, or the war, or elections, or it's it's a big, it's really big. And what lies with me is how I choose to observe this drama, the scene in the drama. Do I choose to ignore it, deny it? No, it's for real. It's happening. It's for real. And this is for any situations for that matter, right? Our first reaction is that of denial. Whether it is someone telling us or giving us a correction, whether someone is telling us something which probably I don't expect, whether a scene in the drama situation happens which I didn't expect, and my first reaction usually is of denial. And that's why, in grieving, they say the first step of grief is denial. I deny. I deny by saying, how can this happen? Or how can this happen to me? Or is this real? Is the news just elaborating, or is this, is it a media gimmick, or what is it? Whether it is, think about COVID. In the beginning, how many denied COVID, right? As to, is this for real? Is it really? Are people really dying? And so our first reaction usually is of denial, but we have to accept. So fearlessness comes from accepting, and fearlessness comes from faith. When I have faith, I will become fearless. One of the um, goddesses, if you know, is have you heard of Kali? No? And Kali is shown with this fearless form. Right? And what is that? What is in Kali that is giving her this fearless form? It is her faith that I'm combined with Shiv. I'm getting my power from Shiv, right? Shiv Shakti. So that. And second, Kali had faith in her own powers as well. She knew that I am there to be victorious, to finish this demon. So having faith in my own self will create this fearlessness. Having faith in my story, having faith in my destiny will create fearlessness. And having faith that God is with me, fearlessness. Come what may, the Supreme Soul, my Supreme Parent, will not leave me. There's a saying in Hindi that Sach ki naiya hilegi but dubegi nahi. The boat of truth will shake, but it will never drown. And that's what the company of truth, the company of God in my life does. I might shake, I might have certain situations, but I will not drown because I have God with me. So that is the form of fearlessness to be used in facing big situations. The third could be relationships. Sometimes, and in relationships, actually, we need to tolerate more than face. But sometimes we do come across some weaknesses in others, which, we just have to accept them. So what I need to check there is, how am I responding to their weaknesses? Because something that they are doing, it is actually showing something within myself, which now I have to face. So, many times very conveniently we say, this one makes me angry, or it's their behavior, or, I tolerate so much, but then that's it. They do this and I lose my temper. I get angry. So, what is it in someone else's behavior which is showing me an unpleasant side of myself? And now that I have to face. So, I'm not actually facing the person or that relationship. I'm actually now face to face with my own demons, with my own weakness. So, you see how it's connected? Someone else's behavior is triggering my weakness, which now I have to face. It's right there in front of me. It's there. as a mirror facing me. And what I need at that point is the true self respect, to stay in that self respect, in that self esteem, to face that demon looking at me. And that's my dignity. How I face it will showcase my dignity. You know, power to face how I'm handling situations, how I am, um, handling my own weaknesses or my own demons will all show up on my face. That's why it's called power to face. When a situation comes and we immediately go like this, or you can see that disturbance on the face, or the anger, the irritation, the sadness, everything is seen on the face. And now how I use power to face is also visible from the face. One cannot fake it, or even if in front of people we are able to fake it, but when I'm alone in my space, it will come out. Sometimes the ego will tell me to be brave, to show the face of courage in front of others. But when I am alone, I might be crying, I might be miserable, I might be angry. So, really, it is an inside out feeling, right? I cannot fake it for a long time. If it's not real, how much ever the ego is telling me to show courage, I will not be able to show it for a long time if I'm not doing the work inside, you know. So power to face is such an important power, because in today's world, um, with so much happening, we definitely have to build that power within, to know how to face, to know what to face, without giving tit for tat, or having, big armies, and, or showcasing all the power in that way, to show that yes, I can face anything that's thrown at me. But it's an inner work that needs to be done to showcase that power to face. This morning, uh, this morning in our morning class, we studied something. It was our slogan, and it said that if I am, and I just want to read it to you. And the slogan said that to take the law into your own hands is to have a trace of anger. To take the law into your own hands is to have trace of anger. And then we learned something else, and that's called being ever ready. Because to be an intense effort maker is to remain constantly ever ready. So, how do I apply these two in power to face? Being ever ready. Am I ever ready? Because all of a sudden anything can happen. Am I ever ready? because there's no guarantee of my final moment, of anybody else's final moment. Am I ever ready in terms of seeing what's going on in the world? Am I ever ready to see the scenes of this drama changing every minute, every second? And what is needed to build this ever readiness is a constant practice of being constantly free from any kind of attachment. Now, again, it's a big topic on its own, becoming free of attachment. But coming back to the basics, I can be ever ready for change in any form. It could be any situation, any scenario, it's a change. In drama, every scene keeps on changing. And we know that change is the only permanent thing that happens, which is change, right? The only thing that actually happens is change. So to go to the basics of accepting that change is inevitable, we as souls are immortal beings. Everything that is physical that I see with these eyes is changing. The body ages, relationships change, scenes change, nature changes, everything that I see with these eyes is temporary, is changing, it's not permanent. When I accept that my part in this drama is also changing, and so is someone else's part, when I have that fitted inside me deeply, settled in me, that's when I can be a conqueror of attachment. Because what does attachment do? Attachment gives me false hopes of permanency. You know, when certain situations happen in our life and we were not expecting it, because I was not expecting it, I thought everything is good. There's hope of this being permanent. And I get attached. I'm getting attached in the process. But now I know that nothing is permanent. When I tell myself nothing is permanent, I'm slowly able to bring down or lower my expectations from situations. And when I bring my expectations down, I'm able to accept more. And this is how I'm able to detach myself slowly. It's very deep, very interesting to understand. So I have to tell myself that change is inevitable. And second, that nothing is permanent. People talk about just as good times don't stay forever, even bad times doesn't stay forever. It changes. Time changes. And if we look back at any of the scenarios or situations that have happened in our life, we will see that when we look back at those situations, we will see that I was able to pass through. I was able to be okay. And I have been okay because life continues. Sometimes the situation would not have been so big and we made it so big. But one more thing that happens is we learn out of it. Think about it, that the person that I am today, the person that we all are today, it's because of the collective, it's because of my collective experiences of the past. And if I were to change any of the situations that happened in my life, would I be this person that I am today? No, right? So these situations, these scenes come in our life to show us something, either to show us my own weakness or either to build that resilience inside me. Because once I pass it, I know I can do it again. So it's building that inner resilience in me. And it's actually, in a way, we have to be grateful to these situations that come in our life because we don't remain the same person anymore. We do change. Something changes within and we grow. So each one of these situations, when I look at it this way, that power to face is to grow, power to face is to build that inner strength, inner resilience. Power to face is to use the fearlessness, use the courage. Power to face is to face the situation with dignity, remaining stable in my self worth. I don't lose my dignity. That is when I am victorious. And the other one is to take law into your own hands, is to have trace me of anger. Now, so many times, we see someone's behavior, something happens, and it is triggering an anger inside me. I want to share with you this story of one of our senior brothers, and he shared it. Brother Jagdish, very senior brother, he was the first surrendered uh, Brahma Kumar um, in 1950s, early 50s. And he shared the story once and he had great sense of humor. But he shared this that, in 1950s, early 60s, there was a lot of news about the Brahma Kumaris, that Brahma Kumaris, they break homes, they make husband and wife brothers and sisters, and they, so many other things, which definitely is not true. And once he was coming back, and he was alone, and there was like this group of some angry men who saw him, and they started following him, and they started beating him. So they started, hitting him and beating him and all that. Jagdish Bhai shares that at that moment, his only thought that kept coming was, what am I taught? If I definitely can hit someone back or push, someone, or even just punch someone, but that's violence. And we study that I am a peaceful soul. I cannot use any violence. So he chose to just protect himself and not use any kind of violence. And he chose to remember God. And he started talking to God, whom we call Baba. And he shares that as he was getting all the hitting and punches and people, using their legs to hit him and all that. And he said it felt like someone is giving me a massage. Now, think about this. He could have taken law in his hand and said that I'm using this as for my defense and hit back. But he chose to not take any law in his hand, and he chose to remember God, the fearlessness. He chose to face by remembering God and being fearless in terms of having faith that I'll be okay because God is protecting me. Now, someone else in that scenario could think that, oh, what will happen to me? Will I die now? They are hitting me, right? All these thoughts. One would choose to face this situation differently. And all these fears will, create all these negative thoughts and feelings. And, would choose to take the law in the hand and probably hit back or punch back or do something. But here, there's a whole new definition of power to face, where I invoke God, I invoke my power, my strength, have the faith that I am God's child and He will not let anything happen to me. I was sharing in class this morning that, many times parents put their kids in learning karate or taekwondo and so many other, defensive things, right? And I have learned karate too as a kid growing up. And I remember that anytime anything, if anything came, my defense mechanism, my defense would be so strong. The only thing I knew was either being defensive through words or through my actions. If someone even tried to do something, my defense was ready. How am I going to punch, or how am I going to, especially in India, you you sometimes you're playing out or you're coming alone or you're alone on the road, and so many things happen and could happen. And that defense thing was so ingrained in me that, okay, if someone tries to do something, I know how to punch, I know how to do this. And it was much later in my life when I was studying the Bhagavad Gita, and the only thing that I understood was to have God as my companion and no one will be able to come near me. So I remember, in my early 20s, if I was coming back home alone and it was dark, or if I was coming back from work, sometimes I would teach tuitions and stuff. So I would end up coming home late sometimes. Um, and I would constantly keep talking to God. You're with me, right? You're with me. Yes. Walk with me. Come with me. That constant conversation with God. And if you ask me today, what was protecting me? And I would say it was God protecting me. It was not karate protecting me. In fact, what happened by learning this karate or so-called skill was there was this trace of anger There was this trace of defending, always ready to combat, power to face, to be used a different way, being combative in situations. But when I have a relationship with God, when I'm combined as a Shiv Shakti, the fearlessness in me, no one, no one can dare touch me. Just as how you see Kali, the goddess Kali. Can anyone dare to look at Kali? Can anyone dare to do anything to Kali? The form, the fearless form of Kali. So we have to adapt that form, the fearless form of Kali, towards the vices, towards the weaknesses, not towards people. Remember, people showcasing the weakness or vices are just, they are colored or they are influenced by those weaknesses and vices. So we can't hate them. What we need to dislike is the weaknesses, you know. So my form of being this fearless Kali is towards the vices. Can I look face to face with courage, with fearlessness, into the mirror and talk to my weakness and say, I see you, but you have no power. That is power to face. I look at the situation and I say, I know you're here. I know what has happened. I accept it. But what can I learn from it? This is using power to face. So it's a new way of looking at it. The spiritual power, power to face. I'm sure you have a lot of deep thoughts and questions, but really choose to apply it, because from my personal experience, having seen so much in my life, you name it, and I have experienced it. Anything, any situation. And just living life, having this faith in my destiny. Because if situations are coming, that means I have the power. That's why the situations are coming. If I was weak, the situations wouldn't come. So I tell myself this, and that's how I keep moving ahead. Okay. So let's take a moment and I want you to tell yourself in your mind that I am a Shiv Shakti. I, the soul, combined with the power of the Supreme Soul. I'm courageous. I'm fearless. I stabilize myself in the self-respect of being God's loved child. My supreme parent. is always protecting me. With God by my side, above me as a canopy, showing me the path, guiding me. I know I will be victorious. Situations come to teach me, to show me what I need to work on, to grow. I understand that everything around me changes and nothing is permanent. The situations are not permanent. People are not permanent. My relationships are not permanent. People's behaviors are not permanent. Everything evolves, and so do I. I choose to evolve every day. By not holding on to old memories, but by building resilience within the soul. As God's child, my success is guaranteed. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. So, enjoying life with power to face. Next week, we'll look into a different power for our life. Till then, have a good week. Become the fearless one. Om Shanti. See you all next week. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, sister.
Shanti.
ओम शांति धन्यवाद शुक्रिया
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, sister.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.